Hey everybody, Tim back again with an update on the Nemesis project. So where we last left off in the last video is I was creating some fiberglass sheets. It has been a long time since I made that video. That was kind of tail end of 2019. Haven't really done much at all on the car, heading through throughout the rest of that time up till now. But I've been trying to play around a little bit with these fiberglass sheets. So the fiberglass sheets themselves actually turned out pretty good. So we'll take a look at what those turned out like. So as we can see here, we've got like total glass finish on the one side, worked out really nice coming off of those ABS sheets to be able to create a mold. If we take a look at the thickness, I've got some 1/8 inch stock aluminum here. So 3 layers of the fiberglass mat that we're using made a really nice, thick, rigid piece of like not much flex at all, even out in the corner here. Really nice piece of fiberglass coming out here. And there's a few sheets over on the side there where we've been creating these sheets of fiberglass, and then as you can see, cutting them based off of different patterns that we've used. So those all come into play, and we can see here that I've been kind of piecing them together in this front quarter, using the front quarter kind of as a test bed. So you can see some of the ABS pieces that were in there from before. This piece actually here should be ABS, it's supposed to go. But kind of taking on the shape of the outside of the vehicle. So as you can see, what I would do is I would cut each of these different pieces, number them so that I had them from my patterns, use basically aluminum tape to hold everything together to try to get all of the edges to match. And then what I've been doing is I've been cutting little aluminum brackets, some of that 1/8 inch aluminum that I just showed there, drilling some holes, bending them to meet the actual angle in here so that it holds it really firm and sturdy, because the idea is to then fiberglass the underneath of these things to seal them all together into being the actual body panel itself. So that's generally kind of the goal. The same thing, kind of connecting all of the ABS sheets in there that will eventually come across. Attach them down onto the plywood that we had cut earlier, kind of pressed it up here and put it up. We've got some spacers to press it to the bottom of the vehicle itself. But the real challenge that I'm having here is trying to get things that they're the right space. Because everything, when I meet them to each of the different angles, they work and they meet, but is the angle correct? And that's the hard part. Like when you actually use Pepakura, and we use, like you'd regularly do with like cardboard and stuff for small scale models, is that Pepakura bends on those pieces of paper. So you bend and fold and then meet things together. And so that everything is connected and going into the right direction. On a small scale model like we showed with the paper models, it comes together really quite nice. The tricky part with it being separate panels and then bringing them together is you're dealing in 3D space that you don't even know if your angles are really correct yet. And you won't really know until you've got the whole thing finished and then having to go back and kind of recorrect, the different angles that you've been trying to meet. So it's been a really slow and tedious process, and to be honest, it's been something for me hard to get back in and get started again, because it's just so daunting of a task for being able to create and cut all these things out. The patterns are really big and there's margin of error for your cutting on each of these things. So it's been a little bit tricky for me to try to get to where I want to be. So one of the things that I think that we're likely going to do is I'm going to keep these fiberglass sheets for doing a bunch of other different kind of panel work and stuff, and being able to connect different things together, whether that's shrouds or what have you. But I've been talking with Matt, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to use his company's kind of proprietary way of being able to create a female mold off of a 3D model. So we're going to again use this kind of front fender here as kind of our test bed. It's the way that they design a lot of their different body kits and being able to create this female negative mold. So where in mold aspect, if you're looking at something like this would be like the plug, and then you would create a mold off of it. So they have a way of being able to create molds out of 3D space. And so the idea then is that we can get all of the angles and everything exactly the way that we want, and then I can literally do the same thing, lay fiberglass up and pop it out of those molds. And I think that's going to give us a much better accuracy, because I just don't want to spend countless hours in getting this to where I think it's supposed to be, and then find out all my angles are wrong, and then trying to make it symmetrical on the other side. So we're going to try to do that as the next step for trying to do things on getting the panels the way that we want them. And you know, we talked about doing some other things too, about kind of 3D printing the panels and being able to use those as kind of core material and laminating them in fiberglass, but that's again really experimental. So I think what we're going to do, you know, this was a great attempt. We didn't know if it would quite work for what we were trying to do. In theory it would, if we were giants and we could bend these things, but it just is too tough of a process. So we're going to go with more of a tried and true method of being able to create some female molds, pop some parts out of that, and then realistically, if anything ever got damaged on the vehicle, it would have a way of being able to get another part without having to go through this whole process again. So that's where we are on the body panels themselves. Again, it's working out okay, but I don't want to put more and more time into it. So we're going to work on some of those molding things. We won't go into all the proprietary ways that they're doing the molds, but we will create some molds. And then I'm going to start to do some more things on the vehicle here as well. Some stuff that still try to find a way for where I want to position the turbo that's going to work. You know, some different things along those lines, how the exhaust is going to go, but I can't really lay out the exhaust until I have the body panels to see where I want the exhaust to come. So it's kind of this, you know, puzzle box of different things, but there's definitely some stuff that I can work on onto the vehicle and keep progress moving. So that's where we are. Stay tuned for the next video, and hopefully we got some more progress to show.